Listen Up with Jim Potts. Listen up, business owners, CFOs, human resource managers, and all managers and supervisors. Jim Potts is answering and addressing your questions and concerns, helping you stay out of court. Furthermore, please be advised that Jim's answers are not legal advice and are only intended as a guide based on his years of experience. The phone lines are open. 1-855-4-J-POTS. That's 1-855-457-6887. You can also email us at listenup@jameswilliampottsllc.com. Ready to listen up? Here is Jim Potts.
Jim Potts back on the air. We got to talk about something a little bit more serious today. This really has nothing to do with the law per se, and it's got to do with the troubled times that we're living in regarding this business about active shooters. Active shooter situations are impacting businesses as well as our daily lives. And today I want to take this time to talk about some information that you can use not only in your business environment, but also as well as in your personal lives as well. I think you know that I also have a law enforcement background, and I did get the opportunity to do some very specialized training in the area of terrorism. So that was pretty exciting. Now I'm bringing some of those skill sets actually into the work environment on behalf of businesses. So as what I want to do, and again, this is a very serious subject matter. I want to talk about for a moment just a profile of an active shooter. An active shooter is an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. In most cases, active shooters use firearms. There's no pattern or method to their selection of victims. Now, they're unpredictable and they evolve quickly. Typically, the immediate deployment of law enforcement is required to stop the shooting and mitigate harm to victims. Now, you got to understand that the stuff is over in 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes people have a tendency to want to run. Running may not always be the best option for the moment. So you got to, as hard as it is, try not to panic and think and use and put some common sense and good judgment into that limited time space that you have available to make choices. Now, let me just give you what has been deemed to be good practices, if you will, for coping with an active shooter situation. Always be aware of your environment. Whether you're at work, whether you're out and about, you're at the mall, you're at the movies, we as Americans have to start learning things that other people in other countries have had to learn the hard way. Some of us in this country have learned the hard way. But now you're getting an opportunity to start being aware of these things, so hopefully those situations won't impact you or your families. Always take note of the two exits nearest to you, wherever you are. If you're in an office, stay there. Try to secure the door as best you can. If you're in a hallway, get into a room and secure the door. As a last resort, attempt to take out the active shooter, but listen, that's at the very, very last resort. Bottom line is, at that point, you're fighting for your life. Now, here's some tips on how to respond when an active shooter is in your vicinity. Quickly determine the most reasonable ways to protect your own life. Remember that customers and clients are likely to follow the lead of employees and managers during an active shooter situation, so this has to do with the business environment. Evacuate. There's an accessible escape path. Attempt to evacuate the premises. Other than, like I already told you, sometimes you may have to hunker down, find a secure place, lock the doors, bolt the doors, whatever you have to do. Don't try to take if you're trying to leave, don't try to take personal belongings with you. Leave them. It's not worth it. They're not there to steal anything. They're there to take human life or to hurt others. If you can help others, if you can't, you got to do what you have to do. If you have to hide out because evacuation is not possible, your hiding place should be out of the active shooter's view, which makes sense. Provide protection if shots are fired in your direction. So if you're in office, use a closed and locked door. Um, Sometimes you have to be careful not to be able to restrict your movements. But if you're in a situation where, in fact, you are in hiding, please remember to silence your cell phones. All right? Silence those cell phones. It's okay to try to call 911 when you safely can do so. Now, there's elevators in some businesses. In my opinion, you should not try to use the elevator. It's simple. It's like with a fire or an earthquake, it may not be safe. You get on an elevator and you're going down to the lower level. You don't know who's at the lower level when the door opens up. So try to avoid that. Again, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I always think the best thing to do is try to find a hiding place for yourself out of the visibility. And the response time generally now takes about 10 to 15 minutes. 12 to 15 minutes as I understand it, when there's an active shooter on premises for law enforcement to respond. So just think about it. 12 and 15 minutes could seem like it's a long time, but depending on what else is going on, it may not be, and some law enforcement agencies are probably reacting even quicker than that. All right. Now look, if you have to take action, like I said, you do what you have to do to save your life. You pick up something, you throw something, you do whatever you have to do. Don't just roll over. Fight for your life if need be. Now, at some point, law enforcement is going to arrive. I want you to take some points here into consideration. Understand that law enforcement's involvement is to stop the active shooter as soon as possible. Officers will proceed directly to the area in which the shots were heard. It's logical. That's what's going to happen. Officers usually arrive in certain teams. Could be teams of 4 because they're going to be there and with numbers, safety numbers for themselves as well. They may wear regular patrol uniforms or external bulletproof vests. They can wear Kevlar helmets and other tactical equipment. So you'll recognize them, and hopefully some of these active shooters wear similar gear, but theirs are not going to say police on it. Normally, law enforcement, they identify themselves as such. Now, understand, law enforcement may show up with shotguns, and they could show up with rifles, and they could show up with handguns, obviously. So they're there to take care of the active shooter. You don't want to be a problem. You can accidentally get caught up if you do the wrong things, which we're going to talk about in a minute. They may have to use pepper spray or tear gas to get control of the situation. They may shout commands, and they may push individuals to the grounds for their own safety. So keep that in mind. They're not there to harm you. They're there to help you. Now, here's what I want you to keep in mind: how to react when law enforcement arrives as well. As hard as it may be, I need you to remain calm. You should remain calm and follow the officer's instructions. No matter what they tell you, go ahead and do it. It's for your safety as well as their safety. Put down any items that you have in your hands. Don't carry anything. Put it down. And when you see law enforcement, immediately raise your hands and spread your fingers. All right? They need to see that you do not have anything in your hands. They are trying to identify who the possible perpetrators may be. If you've got something in your hand, they may think that you're the person. They may not identify what's in your hand. It could be a dimly lit place. All they see is an object in your hand, and they may take an action that may be contrary to your best interest, not intentionally, but just because of the way the circumstances unfold. Whatever you do, don't make quick movements toward the officers, such as and trying to hold on to them for safety. Don't hold on to them. They've got to be able to move around. So get on the ground, hands up, spread your fingers, don't have anything in your hands, and don't grab at them. Don't be pointing them at them and yelling and screaming. If you're yelling and screaming, they're not going to understand what everybody is trying to say. Let them take care of the situation. They'll do it by looking around. They're scanning the room with their eyes. They don't need to hear you yelling and screaming. They may ask you, where did he go? Where did he go? That's different. You can always point. okay, without necessarily shouting. Don't stop to ask the officers for questions or direction. If they're leading people out, forcing people out, don't stop. Just go and do what they're telling you. Get out the exit, get out the exit, get out the exit. Don't take time to try and to talk to them. All right. Now, in the event that you're calling 911 from your place of safety, let them know where the active shooter is at the time that you're calling. The number of shooters if there's more than one. Number and type of weapons that the person has. Now look, some of you may not be able to identify the kinds of weapons. Just say it's a big gun or it's a handgun. That's all you have to remember. Something that's like a rifle, etc. Keep it that simple. Don't try to give technical definitions if you don't know it. All right? If there's any victims, let them know there's already 2 people shot. 2 people are down, 5 people are down, whatever the case may be, and they're gonna take care of making sure that the paramedics, etc., are called. All right, so medical attention will be on its way as well. All right. Now, for you businesses out there, I want you to understand, and the individuals out there, the first officer who arrives at the scene will not stop to help injured individuals. They're not there to help injured individuals. They're not medically trained for that per se. They're there to stop the situation. They're there to stop the active shooter. The medical responders will be on their way. They will be able to assist. So you grabbing onto a police officer saying, help me, I'm bleeding. They cannot help you. All right? Let them do their job. Look, we're living in troubled times with all of this. There are certain requirements that employers need to follow. Employees have to have a workplace security plan. And it's quite frankly, that requirement's been around since 1996. Now's the time. Get busy on it. Liability is increasing. There are people that are actually suing businesses behind the failure to secure their work environments. So this one is a little bit more solemn today, but I thought it was very necessary to cover this subject matter today, and I wish you all the best of luck and safety. But just remember the points that I gave you. All right, with that last comment, it's time to close out this segment, but let me remind you, you can also hear us on Facebook at Listen Up and subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for Listen Up with Jim Potts. And as a reminder, we do take calls every third Friday. We can be reached at 855-4J-POTS or 855-457-6887 between the hours of 9:45 and 10:45. Or you can email us at listenup@JamesWilliamPotts.LLC. Okay, this is Jim Potts. I will continue to fight the fight. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being a part of Listen Up with Jim Potts. We take your calls every third Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for your questions and concerns. Call us at 1-855-4J-POTS. That's 1-855-4J-POTS. Again, that's every third Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time at 1-855-4J-POTS. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, and link up with us on LinkedIn. You can also email us at listenup@JamesWilliamPottsLLC.com. Until next time, make it a great week.